You Are Not Lazy, written and published by Sonic Digest. For far too long, we have been conditioned to believe that laziness is a personal failing, an inherent flaw in one's character. The moment we falter or hesitate, the label lazy is cast upon us, as if it defines our worth. Society has built an entire narrative around productivity, framing those who work tirelessly as virtuous, and those who struggle as inherently flawed. This narrative ignores the complex nature of human behavior, oversimplifying a much deeper issue into a singular judgment. The truth is, laziness is not the enemy it's often portrayed to be. It is not a sign of weakness or moral deficiency. You're not lazy. You're human. The human brain is wired for survival, and sometimes what appears to be laziness is actually a form of self-preservation. Our brains, after all, are designed to avoid discomfort and conserve energy. But when we mistake this for laziness, we begin to internalize it as a reflection of who we are. This creates a cycle of guilt, self-doubt, and resignation, all of which limit our potential. The concept of laziness as we understand it is deeply flawed. What we interpret as laziness is often a natural response to unmet needs, be they emotional, mental, or physical. It might stem from fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough. Sometimes it comes from not having a clear direction or purpose. It could even be a sign that we are overworked, burned out, or disconnected from what truly motivates us. We aren't avoiding work because we're inherently idle. We're avoiding the discomfort that comes with facing what challenges us most. So, if you've ever felt guilty for procrastinating or not living up to expectations, it's time to shed that guilt. Once you acknowledge that laziness is not a defining characteristic, you can begin to see it for what it truly is. A signal, a symptom of something more profound happening beneath the surface. Imagine a life where productivity is no longer tied to your sense of self-worth, but is instead a byproduct of your passion, purpose, and resilience. In this journey, you'll unlearn the damaging myths that hold you back and adopt a new perspective, one where your capacity for hard work comes not from force or fear, but from the joy of pursuing something meaningful. You are capable of incredible things, not because you need to escape laziness, but because you are wired for growth, transformation, and purpose. The journey begins here, with the understanding that you've never been lazy. You've been navigating a system that doesn't honor the complexity of who you are. And now, you'll learn how to break free from that narrative, embrace your full potential, and transform the way you approach every aspect of your life. Chapter 1. Debunking the Myth of Laziness. For centuries, the notion of laziness has been weaponized as a tool for judgment. It's an easy label to apply, a single word used to condemn someone's inability to meet expectations, whether self-imposed or dictated by society. In our fast-paced, goal-driven world, productivity is often equated with virtue, while any deviation from it is met with disdain. The myth of laziness, however, fails to acknowledge the complexity of human behavior and the myriad factors that shape our actions, or lack thereof. To understand the roots of this myth, we must first confront the cultural obsession with productivity. The idea that our worth is directly tied to how much we produce is deeply ingrained in modern thinking. This mindset creates a binary. You are either hardworking and deserving, or lazy and undeserving. But this rigid view oversimplifies the human experience, reducing a wide range of behaviors, emotions, and experiences into a single, derogatory term. Laziness, as it is commonly understood, is a myth created to explain what is often a much more intricate and nuanced reality. Laziness is not a character flaw. It is a symptom. When someone fails to act, there is always a reason beneath the surface. These reasons are rarely about an unwillingness to work, but are instead tied to deeper, often unspoken issues. Fear, anxiety, and uncertainty are some of the strongest undercurrents driving procrastination. These emotions can be paralyzing, leading to inaction, but they are not signs of laziness. They are indicators that something is unresolved, that something important needs attention. Consider the role of fear. Fear of failure is one of the most common reasons people hesitate to take action. It isn't that they don't want to succeed. It's that the thought of not succeeding is so terrifying that it becomes easier to do nothing. The weight of expectation, both internal and external, can create a sense of impending doom around tasks that should otherwise be manageable. This fear is compounded by the anxiety of living in a world where mistakes are often seen as catastrophic, and so, instead of risking the pain of failure, people withdraw into inaction. Anxiety functions similarly. It isn't that those who experience anxiety don't want to complete their tasks. It's that their minds are consumed with an overwhelming sense of dread. Every decision, every action becomes a potential source of discomfort, and so the simplest solution seems to be to avoid action altogether. This isn't laziness, it's a survival mechanism. The mind, flooded with anxiety, seeks to protect itself from perceived threats, and often, that protection looks like procrastination. Unclear goals, too, play a significant role. When you don't know where to start or what the end looks like, it's incredibly difficult to build momentum. People aren't lazy because they lack ambition. They're often stuck because they lack clarity. When goals are vague, overwhelming, or seemingly out of reach, the brain struggles to create a plan of action. Without a clear path, it's easier to do nothing at all than to take steps in the wrong direction. This paralysis can be mistaken for laziness, but in reality, it's a lack of structure, direction, and purpose. In this way, what we call laziness is often a combination of these underlying forces: fear, anxiety, confusion, and sometimes even burnout. The human mind is not a machine. It doesn't thrive under pressure when the pressure becomes too much to bear. It shuts down, and that shutdown is misinterpreted as laziness. But understanding this dynamic allows us to see laziness for what it really is, not a defining trait, but a temporary state caused by a disconnect between desire and action. There is a profound difference between unwillingness and inability. The person labeled as lazy may have every desire to succeed, but without the right tools, mindset, or support, they find themselves trapped in a cycle of inaction. When we look at laziness through this lens, we see it not as an inherent flaw, but as a sign that something deeper needs to be addressed. By reframing our thinking around these behaviors, we begin to unlock new possibilities for growth. Take the story of a young artist who, for years, struggled to create. She wasn't lazy. She loved art and knew it was her passion. But every time she sat down to work, she felt overwhelmed by the weight of expectation, both her own and those of others. The fear of not being good enough kept her from picking up her brush. She labeled herself as lazy, believing that if she truly wanted to succeed, she would simply try harder. It wasn't until she began to unravel the fear driving her inaction that things changed. She realized it wasn't laziness that held her back, but a fear of judgment. Once she reframed her thoughts, she could begin creating freely again, unburdened by the false narrative she had carried for so long. This shift in perspective is crucial. What we perceive as laziness is rarely about a lack of desire or drive. More often, it's a response to an unresolved internal conflict. By understanding this, we can move beyond self-judgment and develop a more compassionate approach to ourselves and others. We are not machines built solely to produce. We are complex beings navigating a world full of uncertainty, fear, and pressure. When we debunk the myth of laziness, we free ourselves from its oppressive weight. We begin to see the behaviors once criticized as signs that something deeper needs attention. And in that attention, we find the keys to unlocking our true potential. Reframing our understanding of laziness opens the door to new possibilities, allowing us to approach challenges with a sense of curiosity rather than self-condemnation. The work is not about forcing ourselves into productivity through guilt or shame, but about examining what holds us back and addressing those underlying forces. Chapter 2. The Science of Neuroplasticity. Your brain is not a static organ. It is a dynamic, ever-evolving system capable of remarkable change. This ability to adapt, reshape, and reorganize itself is at the core of neuroplasticity. Every thought you think, every action you take, every habit you form leaves an imprint on your brain. This is not metaphorical. It is a literal, physical transformation of neural pathways. In a world where we are often told that people cannot change, that we are set in our ways, the science of neuroplasticity reveals a much different story. We are far more adaptable than we ever realized. Imagine your brain as a vast cityscape with thousands of roads and highways. The well-traveled routes represent the habits and behaviors you've repeated over time, making those pathways automatic and efficient. But just as you can build new roads or repave old ones in a city, you can forge new connections in your brain. The more you practice a thought, behavior, or skill, the stronger and faster that neural pathway becomes. This is how habits are formed and, more importantly, how they are changed. Consider the example of London taxi drivers. Before the advent of GPS, they had to memorize the intricate layout of London's streets. Studies showed that this intensive mental exercise physically altered the structure of their brains, enlarging the hippocampus, the area responsible for spatial memory. But this ability to reshape the brain is not limited to complex tasks. It extends to every aspect of your daily life, from how you handle stress to how you approach hard work. If your current neural pathways have been shaped by avoidance, procrastination, or a fear of challenges, the good news is that you have the power to change them. Your brain is not working against you. It's simply following the pathways you've laid out for it, perhaps unconsciously. Once you begin to direct your focus toward new patterns of thought and behavior, your brain starts building new roads. These new pathways may feel unfamiliar at first, even difficult, but with time and repetition, they become smoother, stronger, and more automatic. Training your brain to embrace hard work isn't about forcing yourself into unnatural behavior. It's about consistently engaging in actions that gradually rewire your brain to respond differently to challenges. Where once there was resistance, with the right practice, you will begin to experience curiosity, focus, and even excitement. Neuroplasticity is the key to this transformation, and it doesn't require anything mystical, just deliberate practice and commitment to change. One of the most effective tools to initiate this change is visualization. When you visualize yourself succeeding in a difficult task, your brain activates the same regions as if you were physically performing the task. It's as though your brain is rehearsing success, building the neural pathways that will make actual success more attainable. Visualizing yourself embracing hard work, solving problems, and pushing through challenges primes your brain to perform these actions when the real moment comes. Mindfulness, too, plays a crucial role. When you are mindful, you become aware of your thoughts and feelings without judgment. This awareness allows you to recognize when your brain is reverting to old, unproductive habits. By acknowledging these patterns, you create space for new behaviors to emerge. Mindfulness strengthens your ability to stay present in challenging moments, reducing the brain's default reaction to avoid discomfort. Over time, this practice helps you build resilience, making you less likely to shy away from hard work. Deliberate practice takes neuroplasticity to the next level. It's not enough to merely go through the motions of a task. Deliberate practice requires focused, goal-oriented effort where you actively work on improving specific skills. When you engage in deliberate practice, your brain is not just repeating an action, it's adjusting, refining, and learning from feedback. This method accelerates the creation of new neural pathways, reinforcing the changes you seek in your brain. Whether you're working on enhancing your focus, building persistence, or improving efficiency, deliberate practice helps you progress faster and more effectively. What's important to understand is that neuroplasticity doesn't just allow for change, it thrives on it. The brain craves challenges. The very act of stepping outside your comfort zone triggers the creation of new neural connections. Each time you push past resistance, you're signaling to your brain that it's time to grow, adapt, and evolve. It responds by building the infrastructure necessary to support your new behavior. This process, however, is not always instant. It requires patience and consistency. Just as a bodybuilder doesn't develop muscle after one workout, you cannot reshape your brain with a single act of effort. But with steady, intentional practice, the changes accumulate. What starts as effort becomes second nature. Where once you hesitated, you now lean in. Where once you avoided, you now embrace. Neuroplasticity ensures that no matter where you begin, Your brain has the capacity to develop into something greater. Your potential is not fixed. It expands in direct proportion to your willingness to engage in the work. The beauty of neuroplasticity is that it doesn't discriminate based on age or past behavior. It's never too late to change. Whether you're looking to shift how you approach work, improve your ability to focus, or overcome deep-seated patterns of avoidance, the brain's malleability is on your side. The key lies in intentionality, in making conscious choices about how you engage with your thoughts and actions. As you continue to practice these techniques, visualization, mindfulness, deliberate practice, you will notice subtle shifts in how you respond to challenges. Tasks that once felt overwhelming will begin to feel manageable, even stimulating. Over time, your brain will crave the sense of accomplishment that comes from hard work. This is the power of neuroplasticity. It transforms not just your abilities but your desires. Through repeated effort, your brain rewires itself to seek out challenges, to thrive under pressure, and to view hard work not as a burden but as a rewarding pursuit. This is not an overnight transformation, but a journey where every small effort contributes to a larger, more profound change. Chapter 3. Understanding your motivations. The forces that drive human action are rarely simple. What compels someone to push through exhaustion, to strive for success even when the odds seem insurmountable? Motivation is not a one-dimensional concept. It's a complex interplay between the internal and external worlds. To truly understand what drives you, you must look beyond surface-level desires and tap into the deeper currents of your inner self. The traditional narrative of motivation divides it into two primary forces, intrinsic and extrinsic. Intrinsic motivation is born from within. It is the quiet, persistent voice that pushes you to act, not because of any external reward, but because the action itself feels meaningful. Extrinsic motivation, on the other hand, comes from the outside world, the desire for recognition, approval, status, or financial gain. While both can be powerful in their own right, the impact of each on your behavior, mindset, and long-term fulfillment differs greatly. At the core of intrinsic motivation is passion. It's the kind of drive that doesn't need to be coaxed or forced. You'll see it in the person who spends hours honing their craft, not for accolades, but because the process itself brings them joy. When you are intrinsically motivated, your work becomes a reflection of your inner values, your identity, and your deepest desires. This is why it tends to be more sustainable over the long term. Intrinsic motivation fuels perseverance, creativity, and resilience because it is not dependent on external conditions or fleeting rewards. Contrast this with extrinsic motivation, which can often feel like a treadmill, always chasing something but never feeling fully satisfied. The pursuit of external validation can push you forward temporarily, but it often leaves you empty once the reward is achieved. It's like chasing a mirage. The closer you think you are to satisfaction, the more elusive it becomes. External motivators can lose their power over time, especially if they don't align with your core values. This isn't to say that extrinsic motivation is inherently bad. In fact, it can be incredibly useful, particularly in the short term, when you need an extra push. But relying on it alone often leads to burnout, disillusionment, or a feeling of constantly being unfulfilled. To truly harness the power of motivation, you need to understand what motivates you at your core. The process of self-reflection is essential here. You must look inward, peeling back the layers of external expectations, societal pressures, and inherited beliefs about success. What drives you when no one is watching? What makes you feel alive, engaged, and purposeful? These are the questions that will reveal your intrinsic motivators. Consider the stories of people who have achieved great things, not because they were chasing fame or fortune, but because they were driven by something deeper. Their journeys are not defined by their achievements, but by the relentless pursuit of a cause that resonated with their souls. These individuals weren't necessarily born with more talent or resources than others, but what they had was an unshakable internal drive, a sense of purpose that propelled them forward even in the face of adversity. The key to understanding your own motivations lies in reflecting on the moments when you felt most engaged and fulfilled. What were you doing? Why did it matter to you? Look for patterns in your experiences, when you felt motivated to push through challenges, or when time seemed to disappear because you were so engrossed in what you were doing. These are the clues that will help you uncover what fuels your intrinsic motivation. But it's not enough to simply identify your motivators. You must also create an environment that nurtures them. The world around you has a profound impact on your ability to stay motivated. Imagine trying to light a fire in the pouring rain. It's nearly impossible, no matter how hard you try. Similarly, if you surround yourself with distractions, negativity, or an environment that doesn't align with your values, your motivation will wither. Creating an environment that supports your intrinsic motivation requires intention. You must carefully curate the influences you allow into your life, both people and experiences. Surround yourself with those who uplift you, who challenge you in a way that fosters growth, not fear. The people closest to you should reflect the values you hold dear and inspire you to become the best version of yourself. Physical spaces matter too. Your environment should be a reflection of the work you want to produce and the person you are striving to become. It should be a place where distractions are minimized and focus is amplified. But beyond the obvious changes, there are subtle shifts that can make a profound difference in how motivated you feel. Small rituals, whether it's how you start your day, the objects you keep close, or the spaces where you work, can signal to your brain that it's time to engage with your deepest ambitions. This process is not about perfection, nor is it about eliminating all external motivators. It's about creating balance. There will always be times when external rewards play a role, but when your actions are primarily driven by intrinsic values, the work itself becomes the reward. When your motivation comes from a place of passion, purpose, and alignment with who you truly are, hard work no longer feels like a struggle. Instead, it becomes a natural expression of your inner self, something you crave rather than something you must force yourself to do. In understanding your motivations, you gain more than just insight into what drives you. You gain the ability to align your daily actions with your long-term vision. The fire that burns within you is your greatest source of power, and once you understand how to feed it, there is little that can stand in your way. Chapter 4. Setting compelling goals. Goals are the compass that directs your life, shaping your actions, your decisions, and ultimately your future. They are more than just checkpoints along the way. They are the foundation upon which personal development is built. Without clear, compelling goals, you can easily drift, consumed by the demands of the moment, reacting to external pressures without a true sense of direction. But with the right goals, you create purpose, you unlock your potential, and you build a path that leads you toward meaningful achievements. Setting compelling goals is not a passive act. It requires you to dig deep, to reflect on what truly matters to you, and to envision a future that excites and motivates you. The goals you set must ignite something within you, a spark that makes the challenges ahead worth overcoming. They are not just arbitrary targets. Each one is a deliberate choice that aligns with your values and your vision for your life. When your goals resonate on this level, they become more than tasks on a checklist. They become a driving force that shapes your actions and fuels your persistence. The first step in creating compelling goals is to understand the transformative power they hold. Goals provide a structure for growth. They force you to step outside of your comfort zone, to push beyond the limits you've unconsciously imposed on yourself. When you set a goal that challenges you, you are forced to stretch, to learn, and to evolve. In this way, the act of goal setting itself becomes an exercise in personal development. You are not just pursuing an outcome, you are reshaping who you are in the process. But not all goals are created equal. Vague desires or wishful thinking will not propel you forward. They will only lead to frustration and inaction. To set goals that truly move you toward success, you must be intentional about how you frame them. They need to be clear, actionable, and aligned with a deeper purpose. One of the most effective ways to do this is by using a structured approach that breaks goals down into specific components, ensuring that each step is deliberate and achievable. It's not enough to say, "I want to be successful" or "I want to get fit." These are not goals. They are abstract desires. If you want to turn them into something that will drive real change, you need to make them tangible. This is where specificity becomes essential. A compelling goal must be concrete enough to give you a clear sense of what success looks like. It must be something you can visualize, something that has a clear outcome. Instead of saying, "I want to get fit," you could say, "I will run a marathon in 6 months." That specificity transforms the goal from a vague idea into a challenge you can actively work toward. Measurability is equally important. You must be able to track your progress, to know whether you are moving closer to your goal or drifting away from it. This measurement doesn't always have to be numerical, but it does need to give you a sense of accomplishment at each step. When your goal is measurable, you can break it down into milestones that give you momentum. Each small victory reinforces your motivation, creating a positive feedback loop that keeps you engaged in the process. Achievability is another crucial aspect. Your goals should stretch you, but they should not be so far out of reach that they seem impossible. Setting goals that are too lofty can lead to discouragement, while goals that are too easy will leave you unchallenged. The balance lies in finding goals that are ambitious enough to inspire growth, but realistic enough that you can visualize yourself achieving them with effort and focus. When you set goals that are just beyond your current capabilities, you create the conditions for growth. You are forced to evolve in order to meet them. Relevance is perhaps the most personal element of goal setting. Your goals must align with your values, your passions, and your long-term vision for your life. If a goal doesn't resonate with you on a deeper level, it will be difficult to stay committed when challenges arise. This is where many people falter. They set goals based on external pressures or societal expectations, rather than what truly matters to them. A goal that is deeply relevant to you, one that aligns with your core beliefs and desires, will keep you grounded and motivated, even when the road is difficult. Finally, a compelling goal must be time-bound. Without a clear deadline, a goal remains a distant dream, something you will get to someday. Time frames create urgency. They push you to take action now, to prioritize your goal over distractions, and to stay focused. A deadline forces you to confront the reality of your progress, to make adjustments, and to hold yourself accountable. It's not about creating unnecessary pressure, but about giving your goal a sense of immediacy that propels you into action. Balancing short-term and long-term goals is essential for sustained motivation. Short-term goals provide quick wins that keep you engaged and give you a sense of progress. They are the stepping stones that lead to your larger aspirations. Long-term goals, on the other hand, give you vision. They are the overarching objectives that guide your life and give you something significant to work toward. The key is to create a bridge between the two. Each short-term goal should move you closer to your long-term vision, creating a cohesive path of achievement. Imagine someone like Elon Musk, who set audacious long-term goals to revolutionize space travel and make life multiplanetary. These are not goals that can be achieved in a year or even a decade, but they are anchored by a series of smaller, short-term objectives. Each rocket launch, each new innovation, is a step toward that ultimate vision. The beauty of such goal setting is that it keeps you rooted in the present while constantly pushing you toward the future. When you set goals in this way, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound, you create a framework that not only guides your actions but also transforms your mindset. The goals you set are not just tasks to be completed. They are a reflection of your commitment to personal growth and the pursuit of something greater. They challenge you to rise above complacency and to actively shape your life in a way that aligns with your deepest aspirations. In this process, you discover that goal setting is not just about reaching an endpoint. It's about becoming the person capable of achieving those goals. Each step forward is a transformation in itself, a moment of growth that compounds over time. It's this journey, driven by the power of compelling goals, that leads to true fulfillment. Chapter 5. Overcoming procrastination. Procrastination is often viewed as a simple failure of willpower, but its roots run far deeper than mere laziness or lack of discipline. It's a complex psychological mechanism, a way we shield ourselves from discomfort, uncertainty, and fear. The act of delaying isn't just about avoiding work. It's about avoiding the feelings that accompany that work. The true nature of procrastination reveals itself in the spaces between what we need to do and what we are willing to confront. At the heart of procrastination lies the fear of failure. When we procrastinate, we are often protecting ourselves from the possibility of falling short. If we don't start the task, we can't fail at it. This fear is paralyzing because it turns every task, no matter how small, into a potential catastrophe. It distorts our perception, making even the simplest actions feel insurmountable. The irony is that the longer we avoid the task, the larger and more intimidating it becomes, reinforcing the very fear we are trying to escape. In this cycle, procrastination serves as a shield, a flimsy one, but a shield nonetheless, against the pain of not being good enough. Perfectionism also plays a significant role in fueling procrastination. Perfectionists aren't just afraid of failure, they are afraid of anything less than flawless execution. This creates an impossible standard where starting a task feels overwhelming because the bar is set impossibly high. Instead of beginning, we delay, hoping that by waiting for the perfect moment, conditions will somehow improve. But perfection is a mirage, always just out of reach. The pursuit of it paralyzes us into inaction, keeping us locked in a loop of indecision, where every effort feels inadequate before it's even begun. Emotional regulation is another key factor. Many of the tasks we procrastinate on are not inherently difficult, they are emotionally uncomfortable. Whether it's a difficult conversation we need to have, a project that requires creativity and vulnerability, or a mundane chore that feels tedious, our emotional response often dictates our willingness to engage. When a task triggers discomfort, boredom, or anxiety, procrastination becomes an escape route, offering immediate relief from those negative emotions. But this temporary relief comes at the cost of long-term stress and frustration. To break free from procrastination's grip, we must first acknowledge that the root cause isn't laziness, it's avoidance. We avoid the emotional labor that comes with certain tasks. Understanding this allows us to shift the conversation from self-blame to self-compassion and effective strategy. The goal is not to force ourselves to work harder, but to remove the emotional barriers that make starting feel impossible. One effective strategy is chunking. The sheer size of a task often contributes to our hesitation, but breaking it down into smaller, more manageable pieces can transform how we approach it. When a task feels overwhelming, we tend to look at the entire mountain rather than focusing on the next step. By chunking, we reduce that mountain into a series of hills. Each small task is less intimidating, and every completed step generates a sense of accomplishment that motivates us to continue. The act of beginning becomes less about climbing an impossible peak and more about putting one foot in front of the other. The Pomodoro technique offers another approach to combating procrastination. By working in focused bursts of time, typically 25 minutes, followed by short breaks, this method creates a rhythm of productivity that is both sustainable and energizing. It breaks the inertia that often accompanies procrastination by making the starting point achievable. Knowing that you only have to focus for a short period removes the pressure of long, daunting hours of work. Each Pomodoro session provides a sense of progress, and the frequent breaks prevent burnout, keeping your mind sharp and your motivation intact. Another valuable tool is the Eisenhower matrix, which helps prioritize tasks based on their importance and urgency. When we procrastinate, it's often because we've lost clarity on what truly matters. The Eisenhower matrix brings that clarity back by helping us differentiate between tasks that are urgent and those that are important. Often, we spend our time on tasks that feel pressing, but offer little value in the long run, while the truly significant tasks are pushed aside because they feel less immediate. By using this matrix, we can regain control over our priorities, ensuring that our energy is directed toward what will have the most meaningful impact. But beyond techniques and strategies, the key to overcoming procrastination lies in how we treat ourselves when we fall into its trap. Too often, we meet procrastination with harsh judgment, berating ourselves for not being more disciplined or motivated. This self-criticism only deepens the cycle of avoidance, as it turns procrastination into a moral failing rather than a human experience. The harsher we are on ourselves, the more we seek escape, and procrastination becomes an act of self-preservation from the shame we've imposed. This is where self-compassion becomes crucial. Instead of viewing procrastination as a personal flaw, we can approach it with understanding. When you procrastinate, it's not because you are lazy or weak, it's because you are navigating complex emotions. Acknowledge the fear, the anxiety, the discomfort, and then choose to act despite them. Self-compassion doesn't mean letting yourself off the hook. It means giving yourself the grace to begin again without the weight of judgment. When you approach procrastination with compassion, you open the door to growth. You begin to see each moment of delay not as a failure but as an opportunity to understand yourself better. What are you avoiding? What emotions are holding you back? And how can you move forward with kindness toward yourself? The truth is, everyone procrastinates at some point. It's a part of being human. But by combining practical strategies with self-compassion, you can disrupt the cycle and create a new pattern of action. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment or the perfect conditions. The act of starting, no matter how small, is the antidote to procrastination. With each step, you'll find that the fear begins to recede, the perfectionism loses its hold, and the emotional weight of the task starts to lift. And in that moment, you will realize that overcoming procrastination isn't about force. It's about understanding, acceptance, and the courage to take the first step. Chapter 6. Building a Growth Mindset. The way you perceive your abilities and potential shapes every aspect of your life. How you approach challenges, how you respond to setbacks, and how you grow from adversity. The mindset you hold is the lens through which you interpret the world. It determines whether you see obstacles as barriers or as opportunities for growth. This shift in perspective is at the heart of cultivating a growth mindset, where the focus is not on static abilities, but on continual development and learning. A growth mindset embraces the idea that intelligence, talent, and skills are not fixed traits, but are capable of expanding through dedication and effort. It is the belief that your potential is not defined by where you are now, but by your willingness to evolve. This perspective fundamentally changes how you engage with the world. Challenges become invitations to stretch your abilities. Failures become valuable feedback, and effort is celebrated as the pathway to mastery. In contrast, a fixed mindset traps you in the belief that your abilities are set in stone. If you believe that you are only as smart, talented, or capable as your current level suggests, every challenge becomes a threat. The fear of failure looms large because failure is perceived as a reflection of inherent inadequacy. With a fixed mindset, the focus is on proving yourself, on protecting your ego, and avoiding situations where your flaws might be exposed. This is a mindset that stifles growth, discourages risk-taking, and limits the pursuit of excellence. The path to a growth mindset begins with an understanding that mastery is a journey, not a destination. Those who excel in any field, whether in sports, business, or the arts, do so not because they were born with exceptional gifts, but because they have cultivated the habits and mindsets necessary for continuous improvement. They understand that talent is only the starting point, and that sustained success is built through perseverance, adaptability, and a hunger for learning. Consider those who have achieved greatness despite early setbacks. They didn't shrink from failure. They used it as a springboard for growth. In their world, mistakes were not signs of weakness, but stepping stones toward mastery. The difference was not in their inherent ability, but in their approach to challenge. A growth mindset allowed them to push through discomfort, to persist where others might have quit, and to see potential where others saw limitations. Cultivating a growth mindset requires a conscious decision to embrace challenges rather than shy away from them. This shift is more than just a motivational slogan. It's a daily practice of leaning into discomfort, of seeking out experiences that push your limits. When you engage in challenging tasks, you are not only testing your current abilities, you are expanding them. Each challenge you face becomes an opportunity to build new skills, to gain new knowledge, and to discover capacities you didn't realize you had. The process of growth often involves discomfort, frustration, and even failure. But with a growth mindset, These moments are seen not as setbacks, but as essential parts of the journey. When you embrace challenges, you are signaling to yourself that you believe in your ability to grow. It is an act of faith in your potential, one that pays dividends over time as your efforts compound into greater achievements. Feedback, too, is essential to building a growth mindset. People with a fixed mindset often shy away from feedback because they perceive it as a critique of their abilities. In contrast, those with a growth mindset actively seek out feedback, viewing it as a tool for learning and improvement. They understand that feedback is not about judgment, it's about information. It's the roadmap that shows you where you are and where you need to go. But feedback is only as useful as your willingness to act on it. To cultivate a growth mindset, you must learn to detach your ego from the feedback process. The goal is not to defend your current self, but to build your future self. Every piece of feedback, whether positive or negative, is a piece of the puzzle, helping you refine your approach, sharpen your skills, and move closer to your goals. This doesn't mean blindly accepting every criticism. It means discerning the valuable insights that can propel you forward. Another key element of a growth mindset is the ability to value effort over outcomes. In a world that often celebrates quick wins and overnight success, it can be easy to fall into the trap of measuring your worth by external results. But a growth mindset recognizes that the true measure of success is not in the outcome, but in the process. Effort is the great equalizer. It is the one thing you can control no matter the external circumstances. When you value effort, you are freed from the tyranny of perfectionism. You no longer need to be perfect at every step because you understand that growth is messy, iterative, and non-linear. What matters is that you keep moving forward, that you keep putting in the work, even when the results are not immediately visible. Over time, this consistent effort leads to breakthroughs, and what once seemed impossible becomes second nature. Cultivating a growth mindset is about nurturing curiosity and resilience. It's about maintaining a beginner's mind, always open to learning and improvement, no matter how much you already know or how skilled you've become. It's about seeing every experience, whether it ends in success or failure, as an opportunity to refine your abilities and deepen your understanding. And above all, it's about trusting in your capacity to evolve. The growth mindset doesn't guarantee that you will never fail, nor does it promise that the road will be smooth. But it does ensure that failure is never the end of the story, that each setback is merely a chapter in the ongoing narrative of your development. With a growth mindset, every challenge, every piece of feedback, every ounce of effort becomes a building block in the architecture of your potential. It's a mindset that not only transforms how you approach your goals, but how you view yourself and your capacity to grow beyond what you once thought possible. Chapter 7. Cognitive Behavioral Techniques. Your mind is the most powerful tool you possess, but it can also be your greatest barrier. The thoughts you entertain, the narratives you create, and the beliefs you hold about yourself all shape your reality. This is where the power of cognitive behavioral techniques comes into play. By understanding how your thoughts influence your emotions and actions, you gain the ability to reshape them, turning self-sabotage into self-empowerment. At the core of cognitive behavioral techniques is the recognition that your thoughts are not merely passive reflections of your circumstances. They are active participants in how you experience the world. When your mind is filled with limiting beliefs or distorted thinking patterns, those thoughts become the lens through which you interpret reality. But these patterns are not set in stone. Just as you can train your body to grow stronger, you can train your mind to think in ways that support your goals rather than undermine them. One of the most common and destructive thinking patterns is catastrophizing. It's that voice in your head that turns minor setbacks into disasters, making every challenge seem insurmountable. When you catastrophize, you jump to the worst possible outcome, even when the evidence doesn't support it. This kind of thinking creates unnecessary anxiety, paralyzing you before you've even begun to address the situation. It convinces you that failure is inevitable, so why bother trying? Imagine you've been given a new project at work. The moment you encounter a challenge, Your mind leaps to the conclusion that you'll fail, that your career is on the line, that everyone will see you as incompetent. This spiral of thoughts builds on itself until the fear becomes overwhelming, and you either procrastinate or avoid the task entirely. In reality, the challenge is likely manageable, but the distorted thinking amplifies it to a point where action seems impossible. All or nothing thinking is another form of cognitive distortion that can wreak havoc on your productivity. This mindset leaves no room for nuance. It frames everything in extremes. You're either a success or a failure. You either perform perfectly or you've failed completely. This binary way of thinking puts immense pressure on every decision, every task, and every action. There's no room for growth, learning, or incremental progress because perfection is the only acceptable outcome. This black and white mindset creates an impossible standard. It convinces you that if you can't do something perfectly, there's no point in doing it at all. But life doesn't operate in absolutes. Growth happens in the gray areas, where mistakes are made, lessons are learned, and progress is built over time. When you challenge this all or nothing thinking, you begin to see the value in effort, the importance of small steps, and the freedom that comes with releasing the need for perfection. To break free from these destructive thought patterns, you must first identify them. This requires self-awareness and a willingness to examine your internal dialogue. Pay attention to the thoughts that arise when you face a challenge, a setback, or an unfamiliar situation. What stories are you telling yourself? Are you assuming the worst? Are you demanding perfection? Once you become aware of these patterns, you can begin to challenge them. Challenging negative thoughts is not about positive thinking for its own sake. It's about bringing your thoughts into alignment with reality. Ask yourself, is this thought based on fact, or is it a distortion? What evidence do I have to support or contradict this belief? Often, you'll find that the negative thought isn't grounded in reality. It's a reflexive reaction to fear, uncertainty, or past experiences. By questioning these thoughts, you create space for more balanced, constructive thinking. Take, for example, the fear of failure. If you're telling yourself that failure is the end of the road, ask yourself, is that really true? How many times in the past have you failed, only to learn from the experience and move forward? By reframing failure not as a final judgment, but as part of the learning process, you begin to dismantle the fear that holds you back. You start to see challenges as opportunities for growth, rather than threats to your self-worth. One powerful exercise in cognitive restructuring is to reframe your thoughts. Reframing isn't about denying reality or ignoring legitimate challenges. It's about shifting your perspective in a way that empowers you to take action. If you find yourself thinking, "I'll never be able to finish this," you might reframe that thought to, "This is challenging, but I can take it step by step." The shift may seem subtle, but its impact on your mindset and motivation is profound. It moves you from a place of defeat to a place of possibility. Positive affirmations are another tool that can help rewire your thought patterns. The mind is highly suggestible, and the words you repeat to yourself have a powerful influence on your beliefs and actions. When used intentionally, affirmations can serve as a counterbalance to the negative self-talk that often dominates your internal dialogue. Instead of focusing on what you can't do, affirmations direct your attention to what you're capable of achieving. Affirmations should be specific and aligned with your goals. Instead of vague statements like, "I'm confident," use affirmations that speak directly to the challenges you're facing. For example, if you're struggling with a difficult task, you might affirm, "I am capable of finding solutions, even when things are tough." If you're dealing with self-doubt, an affirmation like, "I am constantly growing and improving," can remind you that progress, not perfection, is the goal. The key to using affirmations effectively is repetition. Just as negative thought patterns become ingrained through repetition, positive affirmations must be reinforced consistently to take hold. Make them a part of your daily routine. Repeat them in the morning, write them down, or use them as a mental reset whenever you feel doubt creeping in. Over time, these affirmations will begin to shift the way you see yourself and your abilities. But cognitive behavioral techniques are not about simply masking negative thoughts with positive ones. They are about fostering a deeper awareness of how your mind works and learning to navigate its complexities with skill. It's about developing the ability to question your assumptions, to break free from limiting beliefs, and to cultivate a mindset that is flexible, resilient, and open to growth. When you commit to identifying and challenging your negative thought patterns, you create a mental environment that supports your productivity and well-being. You become the architect of your thoughts, shaping them in ways that align with your goals and values. With practice, cognitive behavioral techniques empower you to step outside the habitual narratives that hold you back and embrace a mindset that enables you to thrive. Chapter 8. Creating a productive environment. Your environment is more than just the space you occupy. It's the landscape in which your mind operates, the backdrop that either amplifies your focus or dilutes it. The impact of your physical surroundings on your ability to work, think, and create is profound. Just as an artist needs a well-structured studio to unleash their creativity, you need a space that enables clarity, motivation, and productivity. It's not about luxury or aesthetics. It's about intentional design, crafting an environment that elevates your ability to perform at your best. The physical space you inhabit shapes your mental state. A cluttered, chaotic room can lead to scattered thoughts and mental fatigue. The brain craves order, and when your surroundings are disorganized, your mind follows suit. But when you create an environment that is orderly, calm, and aligned with your goals, your mind is free to focus on what matters. It's as though the external clarity allows for internal clarity. Every item in your space should serve a purpose, either functional or inspirational, guiding your thoughts toward productive action rather than distraction. Ergonomics is an often overlooked but crucial aspect of productivity. The physical discomfort that comes from sitting improperly, squinting at a poorly positioned screen, or straining to reach materials can subtly drain your energy throughout the day. Your workspace should be designed to support your body, not hinder it. The way you sit, the angle of your monitor, and the placement of your tools should all be aligned to minimize strain and maximize comfort. When your body is at ease, your mind can work without the constant low-level distraction of physical discomfort. Lighting plays a pivotal role in shaping both your mood and your ability to focus. Natural light, when possible, is the ideal source. It lifts your spirits, enhances your energy, and helps regulate your circadian rhythms. A workspace bathed in natural light can keep you alert and focused, while dim or artificial lighting can leave you feeling sluggish and fatigued. If natural light isn't available, full-spectrum light bulbs that mimic daylight can create an invigorating atmosphere that promotes sustained concentration. Your environment should feel bright and alive, fueling your momentum throughout the day. Minimizing distractions in your physical space is essential for deep work. Your environment should be a fortress for focus, designed to shield you from the constant interruptions that derail productivity. Simple adjustments, like removing unnecessary items from your desk, placing your phone out of sight, or using noise-canceling headphones, can make an enormous difference in your ability to stay on task. Every small effort to eliminate distractions contributes to a larger sense of control over your work, allowing you to enter a state of flow where time seems to disappear and your output increases. But in today's world, your environment is not just physical, it's digital as well. The devices that connect us to the world are also the primary sources of distraction. Notifications, emails, and social media beckon constantly, pulling your attention away from what truly matters. To create a productive digital environment, you must take control of your technology, rather than letting it control you. This means managing notifications, using productivity apps that enhance rather than interrupt your workflow, and maintaining a clean, organized digital space. Start by turning off non-essential notifications. Every time your phone buzzes or your screen flashes, your brain is forced to shift gears, disrupting your concentration. Create designated times for checking messages and emails, rather than allowing them to intrude at every moment. Productivity apps can also be powerful allies, tools that help you organize your tasks, manage your time, and keep track of progress. But use them wisely. The goal is not to overcomplicate your workflow with unnecessary tech, but to simplify and streamline it. Your digital tools should support your focus, not scatter it. A clean digital space is just as important as a clean physical one. An inbox overflowing with unread messages, a desktop cluttered with files, or an app drawer filled with unused software can create digital noise that clutters your mind. Take the time to organize your digital files, streamline your folders, and clear out unnecessary clutter. When your digital workspace is clean, it's easier to access what you need quickly, reducing the friction between thought and action. This mental clarity translates directly into better work and greater efficiency. Yet, beyond the physical and digital aspects, your environment also includes the people you surround yourself with. The energy and attitudes of those around you influence your own mindset, whether you realize it or not. If you spend your time with people who are negative, complacent, or unmotivated, their outlook can seep into your own thinking. But when you surround yourself with individuals who inspire you, challenge you, and support your goals, your environment becomes a source of strength and motivation. Choose your circle wisely. The right people will lift you higher, providing encouragement when you falter and celebrating your wins with genuine enthusiasm. They don't have to be in the same field or share the same goals, but their mindset should resonate with yours. Seek out those who are driven by growth, who aren't afraid of challenges, and who push you to be your best. When your environment is filled with people who believe in their own potential, it becomes easier to believe in yours. This also means creating boundaries with those who drain your energy or distract you from your path. It's not about cutting people out of your life, but about recognizing the impact they have on your mental environment and making conscious choices about how much time you spend in their company. Surrounding yourself with the right people is an act of self-preservation and self-enhancement. The energy you absorb from others has a profound effect on your productivity, so make sure it's energy that fuels you. In crafting a productive environment, you are not simply arranging objects or managing time. You are designing a space that reflects the kind of work you want to produce and the kind of person you want to become. Every element, from the chair you sit in to the conversations you engage in, shapes your ability to focus, create, and thrive. The more intentional you are about curating this environment, the more aligned it becomes with your vision for success. This alignment creates momentum, and once that momentum is established, your environment becomes not just a background but an active participant in your journey toward greatness. Chapter 9. Building Habits. That stick habits are the silent architects of our lives, shaping our actions, decisions, and ultimately our future. They form the invisible framework that guides us each day, often without our conscious awareness. Whether we realize it or not, our success, or lack thereof, is built upon the habits we cultivate. The beauty of habits lies in their consistency. Once established, they operate on autopilot, freeing up mental energy for higher-order thinking and creativity. But building habits that last requires more than just willpower. It requires an understanding of how habits are formed and the deliberate creation of systems that support them. At the core of every habit lies a psychological cycle of 3 elements: cue, routine, and reward. This is the engine that drives habit formation. The cue is the trigger that initiates the habit, the signal that tells your brain to begin the routine. The routine is the behavior itself, the action you take in response to the cue, and the reward is the benefit you receive from completing the routine. This cycle repeats itself over and over, strengthening the neural pathways in your brain, making the habit automatic. Understanding this cycle is the key to mastering your habits. The first step in building productive habits is identifying the cues that trigger your current behaviors. These cues are often subtle: an alarm clock going off in the morning, the sight of your desk, or even a specific emotional state like stress or boredom. By becoming aware of these triggers, you can begin to consciously associate them with new, more productive routines. For example, if you want to establish a habit of exercising each morning, your cue might be the sound of your alarm clock. Instead of hitting snooze, you can train yourself to associate that sound with getting out of bed and putting on your workout clothes. Once the cue is in place, the routine follows. But here is where many people stumble. The mistake lies in trying to overhaul everything at once, expecting massive changes overnight. The truth is, habits are built through small, consistent actions. Grand gestures may feel motivating at first, but they are rarely sustainable. Instead, focus on making small, incremental improvements. Tiny habits, repeated over time, compound into massive transformations. It's the small, seemingly insignificant actions, doing 5 push-ups, writing for 10 minutes, reading a single page, that when performed consistently, lead to significant changes in the long run. Consider the power of morning routines. Many successful individuals attribute their productivity and clarity to the habits they perform each morning. But these routines are not about doing everything perfectly from the moment you wake up. They are about starting the day with intention and building momentum through a series of small, purposeful actions. Whether it's journaling, meditation, or exercise, a morning routine sets the tone for the rest of your day. It provides structure and a sense of control, anchoring you in a positive state of mind before the demands of the day take over. The reward is what solidifies the habit. Your brain needs to feel a sense of accomplishment or pleasure to reinforce the routine. This is why it's important to celebrate small wins, even if the victory seems minor. Completing a habit, no matter how small, releases dopamine, the brain's reward chemical, which reinforces the behavior and encourages repetition. The key is to create rewards that are immediate and satisfying, ensuring that your brain associates the routine with positive outcomes. For example, after completing your morning exercise, reward yourself with a few minutes of relaxation, or after finishing a work task, take a short break to recharge. To build habits that last, you must also anticipate and address the inevitable moments of resistance. There will be days when motivation wanes, when the routine feels burdensome, or when external factors disrupt your progress. The solution is not to rely on motivation alone, but to create systems that make it easier to stick to your habits. One such system is reducing friction, the barriers that make it harder to perform the habit. If your goal is to read more, keep a book by your bedside table or in your bag. If you want to eat healthier, prepare your meals in advance so that you aren't tempted by convenience foods. By lowering the effort required to start the habit, you increase the likelihood of following through. Another effective strategy is habit stacking. This involves pairing a new habit with an existing one, creating a chain of actions that flow naturally from one to the next. For example, if you already have a habit of making coffee in the morning, you can stack a new habit like writing in your journal right after you brew your cup. Because the cue, making coffee, is already ingrained, it becomes easier to attach the new habit, journaling, to that existing routine. Over time, this stack becomes seamless, and the new habit is effortlessly integrated into your daily life. Let's explore a case study of how small changes lead to lasting transformations. Take the example of fitness habits. Many people set grandiose goals of working out for an hour every day, only to burn out after a week or two. But those who experience lasting success start small. They might begin with just 10 minutes of exercise each day, gradually increasing the intensity and duration as the habit becomes ingrained. By starting small, they avoid overwhelming themselves and build the confidence needed to stay consistent. Over the course of months, that initial 10-minute workout evolves into a regular fitness routine, transforming their health and energy levels. The same principle applies to other areas of life. Whether it's developing a habit of reading, writing, or learning a new skill, the key is consistency over intensity. A single monumental effort rarely leads to lasting change, but small, repeated actions do. Imagine the impact of writing just 200 words a day. At first, it might not seem like much, but over the course of a year, that small habit adds up to over 70,000 words, the length of a book. The secret lies not in doing everything at once, but in doing a little bit every day. Ultimately, building habits that stick is about creating systems that support your growth. It's about understanding the psychology of habit formation, cue, routine, reward, and using that knowledge to your advantage. It's about starting small, being consistent, and celebrating progress, no matter how incremental. When you design your habits with intention, you create a foundation for success that is unshakable, a structure that carries you toward your goals with minimal resistance. And as these habits compound over time, you will look back and realize that it was not one grand action, but a series of small, deliberate choices that led to your transformation. Chapter 10. Keeping the Fire Burning. Long-term motivation. Maintaining motivation over the long haul is an art as much as it is a science. It's easy to be fired up at the start of a new venture, but sustaining that initial burst of enthusiasm requires more than just willpower. It demands a deeper understanding of how motivation works and how to navigate the inevitable ups and downs along the way. Long-term motivation is anchored in a deep sense of purpose and alignment with your core values. When your goals resonate with your inner desires and beliefs, they ignite a passion that can drive you through the toughest times. It's about connecting your daily actions to a larger vision of who you want to become. This connection transforms mundane tasks into meaningful steps towards a fulfilling future. When your goals align with your core values, they become more than just checkpoints. They become essential parts of your identity. However, even with a strong sense of purpose, motivation can wane. The key is to understand that dips in motivation are a normal part of the journey, not an indication of failure. These fluctuations are often driven by various factors: fatigue, stress, or simply the monotony of routine. Recognizing that motivation ebbs and flows can help you prepare and respond more effectively. One effective strategy for overcoming these dips is to build a routine of regular reflection and recalibration. Regularly revisiting your goals and reflecting on your progress helps keep the bigger picture in mind. It's easy to lose sight of your purpose when you're engrossed in daily tasks, so periodic reviews can reignite your commitment and clarify your direction. These moments of reflection are opportunities to celebrate your achievements, however small, and to reassess your strategies and goals. Another approach is to create a system of accountability. Sharing your goals with a trusted friend, mentor, or coach can provide an external source of encouragement and a reminder of your commitment. Accountability partners not only offer support and motivation, but also help you stay honest with yourself about your progress and challenges. They can also provide valuable feedback and help you navigate obstacles with a fresh perspective. Building a habit of celebrating progress is crucial for long-term motivation. Every step forward, no matter how small, is a victory and should be acknowledged. Celebrations don't need to be grand. They can be as simple as a small reward or a moment of self-praise. Recognizing your incremental improvements creates positive reinforcement, which fuels ongoing motivation. It also helps shift your focus from what still needs to be done to what you've already achieved, making the journey feel more rewarding. In addition, diversifying your approach can keep your motivation fresh. Sticking to the same routine for too long can lead to boredom and decreased enthusiasm. By introducing variety into your process, whether through new challenges, different methods, or varied tasks, you can keep your journey engaging and stimulating. This doesn't mean abandoning your goals, but rather finding creative ways to approach them. For instance, if you're working on a long-term project, break it into smaller, varied tasks that keep you engaged and offer new experiences along the way. Maintaining motivation also involves adapting to changing circumstances and setbacks. Flexibility is essential, as it allows you to adjust your strategies and goals in response to life's unpredictability. Embrace setbacks as learning opportunities rather than failures. Each challenge is a chance to grow, refine your approach, and strengthen your resolve. The ability to adapt and persevere in the face of adversity is a hallmark of sustained motivation. Engaging in self-care and maintaining balance are vital components of long-term motivation. Exhaustion and burnout can quickly erode your drive. Ensuring that you have time for rest, relaxation, and activities that rejuvenate you is crucial. A well-rounded approach to self-care supports not only your physical health but also your mental and emotional resilience, keeping you energized and focused on your goals. Finally, reconnecting with your why can be a powerful motivator. Periodically remind yourself of the reasons behind your goals and the impact they have on your life and others. This sense of purpose can reignite your passion and provide the drive needed to push through challenging times. When the road gets tough, It's the profound connection to your personal values and long-term vision that will keep you moving forward. In essence, keeping the fire of motivation burning requires a multifaceted approach that combines purpose, routine, reflection, accountability, celebration, variety, adaptability, self-care, and a deep connection to your goals. By embracing these strategies, you create a sustainable foundation for long-term success and fulfillment, turning motivation into an enduring part of your journey. Conclusion: embrace hard work, enjoy the journey. In navigating the transition from being labeled lazy to becoming genuinely productive, it is essential to shift not only your mindset but also your approach to hard work. This journey is not merely about increasing your output, but about redefining your relationship with effort and achievement. By embracing hard work as a vital and enriching component of your life, you pave the way for profound personal growth and satisfaction. First and foremost, understanding that the concept of laziness is often a misinterpretation of deeper issues is crucial. Rather than viewing hard work as a burden, recognize it as a pathway to personal evolution and fulfillment. Hard work, when approached with the right perspective, becomes a means to uncover and harness your potential. It is through the effort and dedication that you cultivate resilience, learn new skills, and achieve a sense of accomplishment. Transforming your approach involves reframing challenges as opportunities rather than obstacles. Every challenge you face is an invitation to stretch beyond your current limits and develop new capabilities. Embrace these moments with enthusiasm and curiosity. They are the crucibles in which your skills are forged and your character is strengthened. Viewing difficulties through this lens can turn the arduous path of hard work into a stimulating and rewarding journey. Creating a work environment and mindset that finds joy in the process rather than solely focusing on outcomes is key. When you find pleasure in the act of working and learning, the journey becomes intrinsically rewarding. Cultivate habits and environments that align with your passions and values. Surround yourself with people and resources that inspire and support you, and seek out projects and activities that resonate deeply with your interests and aspirations. It's also important to celebrate progress and milestones along the way. Acknowledge and reward yourself for the effort and achievements, however small they may be. This practice not only reinforces positive behavior, but also makes the journey more enjoyable. Each step forward, no matter how incremental, is a testament to your dedication and progress, deserving of recognition and celebration. Balance is essential in this journey. While hard work is important, it should not come at the expense of your well-being. Integrate periods of rest, relaxation, and self-care into your routine to ensure that you maintain your energy and enthusiasm. The ability to enjoy the journey is closely linked to maintaining a healthy balance between effort and rest. Finally, embrace the notion that hard work is a lifelong companion in your journey of growth. It is not a temporary endeavor, but a continuous part of the path to personal and professional fulfillment. By finding satisfaction and purpose in your efforts, you transform hard work from a mere necessity into a cherished aspect of your life. This perspective allows you to enjoy the journey and appreciate the process of becoming the best version of yourself.